So good morning, everybody. And thank you very much for inviting me here. So thank you very much to the Institutum Novum and to the Health, and especially to Sebastian Pic, who contacted me, and we were in contact organizing my presentation and so on. So yeah.
Or later.
You can. So I have to present myself, Enrico Calossi. I'm postdoc research fellow in the University of Pisa. I'm also the coordinator of the Observatory on Political Parties and Participation and Representation at the European University Institute in Florence. The title of my presentation is Monitoring European Political Foundations. Actually, if we want to talk about European political foundations, we have also to talk about the party politics at the European level. So that's why I will go to start to talk describing the role and the objectives and the organizational structure of the so-called Euro parties. This is the unofficial name for the so-called political parties at the European level. So this is an organizational scheme of the party politics at the European level. Katz and Mayer, Richard Katz and Peter Mayer, who are actually Peter Mayer was two prominent political scientists in the world, adopt this scheme to analyze the organization of national parties, so to analyze political party at the national level. And they say that political parties can be analyzed as the relations between three different levels. The so-called party in public office, that at the national level means people that are elected in institutions, so prime minister, ministers, parliamentarians, senators, member of chambers, and so on. And this is one top level phase. Another phase is the so-called party in central office. That means the general secretary, the president of the party, the general assembly of the party, the general meeting, the executive board, and so on. So what of the party at the top level, it's outside the parliament. Oh, okay, so the extra-parliamentarian party. And the other phase at the national level, when we talk about political party at the national level, is represented by members. So the so-called party on the ground. If we try to use this organizational scheme to party politics at the European level, you have such a kind of figure. And you will have that the party in public office at the European level is represented by the EP party groups. So that means the party groups inside the European Parliament. On the other side, the other top level phase is represented by the political parties at the European level. Okay? But on the party on the ground is not represented by members, and I'm so happy that the Vice President of ALDE said that now is allowed the individual membership for ordinary people to become member of ALDE, but till now, the party on the ground of the so-called scheme of Euro party was not represented by individual members, but from collective members. So the members of these structures, the ground level of these structures, are the national parties. The national parties elect people in the European elections, and the members that are elected in the European elections from the national party in the national level election, the European elections, but at the national level, become member of the EP groups. Okay? On the other side, national parties are member of the political parties at the European level. So this is the relation between these three phases. EP party groups, European party at the European level, and the national parties represent the Euro party. And this is an essential and crucial step to understand the role of European foundation. This is a brief history of the establishment of the Euro parties and of the Euro Foundation. The official name of foundation at the European level is this one, Political Foundations at the European level. That represent and remind the name of political parties at the European level. Basically, they have the same structure. The name is very similar. And the history, while the history of the EP party groups is very easy, because the EP party groups were established when the European Parliament was established, so that means in the 50s, when there was not still the European Union, but there was the community of steel and coal. And in 1979, there were the first direct elections for the European Parliament. Anyway, the EP party groups bore at that period, in the 50s. The political parties at the European level, so the extra-parliamentarian phase, was first mentioned by the Maastricht Treaty in the Article 191. And if you look at this article, this is a part of this article. I underline three important words. I will going to read that. The Maastricht Treaty stated that political parties at the European level are important as a factor of integration within the Union, and that they contribute to forming a European awareness and to expressing the political will of the citizens of the Union. So I underline, I made in bold three expressions. Integration, so there is a general objective that should be performed by the political parties at the European level. They have to talk about the importance of being integrated, not just being left-wing with right-wing, liberal, Christian Democrats, socialist, extreme left, and so on, but the importance is to be together and also to form a European awareness or European consciousness and to express the political will of the citizens. There's one thing that lacks completely in this scheme. The fact that people can express their political will during the elections. They say, I vote for this party during the European elections. I will elect this parliamentarian in the European election for the European Parliament. But after that, I have expressed my will, but I don't rule. I do not influence the government, because the government of the European Union that is represented by the European Commission is not influenced by the European Parliament. So there's one that is lacking here. The point that people can vote, can express their will, but politicians, members of the European Commission, can do whatever they want without taking care of the will of the people. And the main idea represented by these three words are still effective in the following regulations regarding Euro parties and European political foundation. In fact, in 2003 there was a new regulation, Regulation 2004, that clearly indicated the funding schemes of the political parties at the European level and fixed the criteria to be established as political party at the European level. That means receiving the signatures of at least 7 MEPs or national parliamentarian or regional parliamentarian, okay, representative. So representative from at least 7 different countries, member of the European Union, obviously. And this regulation is also important because make a distinction clearly between the EP party groups and the PPES, so the political parties at the European level. And the EP party groups, according to this regulation of 2003, so number 2004 of 2003, EP party groups were forbidden to perform electoral campaigns. That means electoral campaigns, obviously during the European elections, have to be performed by the political parties at the European elections. So the political parties at the European election are the one item that have to perform the European elections, obviously with the help, essential help, by the national parties. And there was also another regulation that was mentioned even before, the number 1524 of 2007. And this regulation assumed new financial schemes for the political parties at the European level and funded the criteria to establish the political foundations at the European level. So the date of birth of the political foundations at the European level was 2007, okay? And which are the reasons for the existence of political foundations at the national levels? Because I'm going to talk about the European levels, but I want to stress also the importance of the existence of political foundations at the national levels. There are 2 reasons that made political party politics weaker than in the past. And these elements are represented by the fact that Politicians, and already in the previous presentations, people talk about that, the other speakers talk about that. Politicians have one only aim. They want, mainly, they want to be re-elected. And to be re-elected, it means that you have to perform with a short-term policies and with a short-term perspective. This is the main assumption about politicians. The objective of politicians and the aim of political parties is to receive vote in a short term. That's why they don't want to do policies in the mid-term, in a long term, and so on. Because policies in mid-term and long term are dangerous, because you will receive the benefits from mid-term and long-term policies only in a long period, after the elections. So you lose the election, and after that you cannot do any more policies. Okay? So this is the first point that make party politics weaker than in the past. And the other important point is that there is a decrease in importance played by ideologies, and there is an increasing importance, an increasing role for pragmatic solutions. For example, think about the concept stretching that some words, as for example, socialism had in the 70s. In the 70s, most of the Western European parties tried to be called as socialists. For example, the most important right-wing party in Portugal is the Social Democrat Party, is the right wing. Or for example, even here in Slovenia, till 2003, the main conservative party was called Social Democrat Party. Then they changed the name in Democratic Party of Slovenian Democratic Party. So there is a concept strange, because their idea of social democracy was not the classical social democracy. Or on the other side also, the concept strange about some term like liberalism. For example, if you look at Russia, you have the Liberal Party who is extreme right-wing, the one of Zhirinovsky. If you look at Austria, you have the Freedom Party that previously was a liberal party, and after either became a right-wing party, and so on. There was the same in Lithuania. The Liberal Party was an extreme right-wing party, and so on. Or even in Italy, the Party of Freedom, led by Silvio Berlusconi, was not a liberal party, was a conservative party, led by a monopolistic tycoon, and so on. So these two reasons create the good environment for the establishment of political foundation at the national level. Because political foundations at the national level do not have to think in short term, but have to think in long term, in mid and long term perspectives. That's why political foundations were established at the national level. Obviously, there are different kinds of political foundations. When we think about the political foundations, maybe we think about the German one or the Dutch one. For example, the role played by political foundation in Italy is completely different, because they are a sort of personal foundation, personal tendencies inside the political parties. But anyway, this is another stuff. And another point that political foundation can do very well, they can formulating pragmatic solution, because they can took together people that obviously they do not belong to different political culture. They belong to the same political culture, but they can have also different ideology. Okay? But they want, when you are a member of a political foundation, you want to think about pragmatic solution, because you have to take this, but in a mid-term and long term. Okay? This is mainly the role of the political foundation at the national levels. So, the problem, since I told you at the European level, political parties at the European level have to perform the electoral campaigns, they have the same problem that national parties have. Because European politicians tend to think in short-term perspective. So, after political parties at the European level was established in 2003, it was, after only 4 years, it was clear that their role was not able to be performed by themselves. So they need some other help. Obviously, there is also at the European level a strong confusion, ideological confusion. Think about the abuse of terms like democracy, democratic, democrats, and so on. For example, you have inside the European Parliament, you have the alliance, progressive alliance of socialists and democrats. So Democrats is part of that political group in the European Parliament. But you have also the ALDE, the alliance of liberal and democrats, again, for Europe, okay? Or for example, you have the Europe of freedom and democracy, that is a right-wing political group in the European Parliament. Or, for example, you have also the European Democratic Party. They are all different organizations, but they over-abuse the term Democrat or democracy, or democratic, and so on. And there is also a specific problem at the European Union level, and this is represented by the lack of direct links between the citizens and European institutions. This is the name, Simon Hicks was the first one that talked about that in a scientific way. So for these three reasons, for these three problems at the European level, in 2007, political foundations at the European level were established. And maybe this is a part of the regulation of Regulation 1524 of 2007, and you can see that which are the main topic that characterize the political foundation at the European level. So they are defined as an entity or network of entities, so the same problem of political parties at the European level. European foundation, political foundation at the European level are network of entities already existing. Existing where? At the national level. Obviously also individual members can join political foundation at the European level, but the core, the basic structures, the ground base of the political foundation at the European level are represented by national foundations, and which they have to be affiliated with a political party at the European level. So you cannot create your own political foundation at the European level. You have to ask to be affiliated to a political parties at the European level. And I will show you later which are the current affiliations between foundations and parties. And then which are the objectives of the political foundation at the European level. This is the regulation. So this is a rule. This is a law. They have to underpin and complement the objectives of the political party at the European level by performing in particular the following tasks. So the political foundation at the European level that I will call since now Euro Foundation, so the Euro Foundations have been created to help the work of Euro parties. Okay, this was by law. And how do they help the work of Euro parties? Analyzing and contributing to the debate on European political policy issues and so on, developing activities linked to European public policy issues, such as organizing, supporting seminars like this one, and so on, developing cooperation with entities of the same kind in order to promote democracy. So if you want to create your own political foundations that is against democracy, you cannot do. Because the European legislation doesn't allow you to create a political foundation against democracy. This is strange because this is a way in which European Union try to defend themselves by law. And when you defend by law, you defend yourself by law, is not so a strong defense. Okay? You should win the war against anti-democratic. This is a personal thing, sorry. You should win the war against the anti-democratic feelings, discussing with them, trying to say to the people that the democratic solutions are better than the anti-democratic. You cannot forbid the anti-democratic solutions by law. This is my personal idea, but we can discuss about that. And the last aim of Euro Foundation is to serve as framework for national political foundations, academics, and other relevant actors to work together at European level. So the political foundations at the European level have to behave as a model, as a pattern. And that's what I also think that could be an objective of these 2 days here in Ljubljana, that the health can be used as, using is not always a good word, but can be adopted as a model to create and establish political foundation at the national levels where there are not still liberal foundations. So this is the new map. I showed you before the old map of the Euro party, and this is the new map of the party politics at the European level. You have the EP party groups, you have the political parties at the European level, you have the national parties, and on the right, linked to the national foundation and think tanks, and linked also to the political parties at the European level, you have the European Political Foundation. This is the space that Euro foundations occupy in the party politics at the European level. And something about the financial regulation, because money is an important issue, always. The regulation, the last one that established the Euro Foundation, determines also that 50% of the budget that the general budget of the European Union is given to Euro Foundation has to be equally divided between among the established Euro Foundation. The other 85% of this amount of money is divided according to the signatures that European political foundations receive by MEPs. And then we will see which is the result of this distribution of money. The second, obviously, the regulation has a very long list of obligations, but I just put here the most important. And the second most important point is that the general budget of the European Union will fund each foundation not exceeding 85% of costs of it. So it means that if you say that your foundation will go to, if you are going to ask for if you're going to ask for 1 million euros, it means that these 1 million euros has to be at the maximum the 85% of your total expenses. That means the other 50% of expenses has to come from other sources, private donation, national foundations, and so on. And this is very important. Funding by the European Union cannot be used to fund electoral or referendum campaigns or to fund national parties. On this point, the European Parliament, the European legislators have been very strict also funding the European political parties. This is the same rule that for the political parties at the European level is in charge, in the sense that they cannot use their money to pay national parties, okay, or electoral or referendum campaign at the national level. When they say, when the regulation 2004 of the year 2003 says that political parties at the European level have to perform electoral campaigns, it means that they have to perform electoral campaigns at the EU level, not just at the national level, okay? And this is the list of the, actually one is lacking here. There's another small foundation. This is the foundation that were alive in 2011, because this is the last consolidated budget. The last one is of 2011. I mean, what I found in the European Parliament, in the European Union website, and you can see the different amount. Anyway, just have a look of the different affiliation. For example, okay, the European Liberal Forum is affiliated to the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe. Okay, it's very clear. Then you have another big one, the Foundation for European Progressive Studies, that is affiliated to Party of European Socialists. And then you have the, I don't know, another very important is the Center for European Studies, that is affiliated to the EPP, the European People's Party, and so on. You can see that the political spectrum of the political foundation goes from the extreme left that is represented by Transform Europe, that is linked to the Party of the European Left, to the extreme right, that is represented by the, in this case, the European Foundation for Freedom, I guess, again, the use of the word freedom, that is linked to the European Alliance for Freedom. The national parties that are members of the European Alliance for Freedom are not liberal, because there is the Front National in France, there is the Freedom Party in Austria, and so on. And this is how the cake is divided, okay? And you can see that the Center for European Studies and the Foundation for European and Progressive Studies barely receive more than half of the money from of the total budget that the European Union gives to the Euro foundations. The total amount in 2011 was 10 million and so on, 10 million euros. And for example, the share of the European Liberal Forum is less than 10%. Okay, and why? Because the signatures that the Popular Foundation and the Socialist Foundation, Progressive Foundations, are many more of the other foundations. And this is very important, because having less money, you can do less things. This is, even the internal organization is different. And just try to have a look. This is, obviously, this is a generalization. Usually, in general, this is an inside look to Euro Foundation, how Euro Foundation organize themselves. You see that at the top there is the president, and under the president there is the executive board. The executive board is elected by national foundations and think tanks, and also individual members can be part of the executive board. And on the other side, you have the secretary general, who is the head of the administrative staff. And there is also, but not all the foundations have, not all the Euro foundations has. Sometimes there is also an academic council that is the most important, the most independent body of a Euro foundation. Because in the academic council, there are prominent, prominent academicians, prominent scholars, and so on, and they are very independent to propose policies and solutions, and so on. So this is a general framework. Obviously, the names change between the different foundations. You have seen before that there are 12 foundations, so obviously the name change. Studying Euro Foundation. So I told you which are the rules. I will tell you something about how we studied Euro Foundations in my research center in Florence. The most important thing we did, it was that in February we organized, for the first time after 5 years, a conference where all the representatives of all the political foundations at the European level were there. And this was the title, Political Foundations at the European Level, 5 years in promoting democratic political culture in the European Union. To be honest, even choosing such a kind of name was a mess. Because I was discussing with the scientific board of the OPPR, my research center, with the directors and so on. It was not so easy to find the name that was without any problem, accepted by all the Euro foundations. Because some Euro foundations do not want to say that they want to create a European democracy. For example, think about the foundation of the conservatives. They find themselves Euro-realist, but actually they're Euroscepticals, and so on. So these 5 years in promoting democratic political culture in the European Union, this was an expression that has been taken precisely from the regulation. Say, this is the regulation. If you receive money from the European Union, you have to accept that this is the regulation, this is the title of the conference. Anyway, and the aim was to create a forum between Euro Foundation exponents and academics. And these were the questions. More important were, what is the foundation's role? How did they, as individual foundation, interpret their role, and so on? Which are the activities? And so I hope we can send to the participants this presentation. I have also a written one, just a small paper. Which are the main findings? About roles and activities. So aims and role. Some representatives stress the contribution they provided to the creation of European political space and to the integration of European and national spheres. These are all fresh things that we received during that conference. And I want to underline again that this was the first conference that put all together all the representatives of all the foundation of the Euro Foundation in Europe. Other speakers prefer to underline the role played by Euro Foundation in giving a broader audience to national and local events and interests and so on. Anyway, these are commonly, the activities obviously, they were what we expect, so organization of conferences, seminars and so on. Almost all the Euro Foundations have one or more publication series. Many speakers stressed the importance of relations and coordination with the respective affiliated Euro parties. Especially some speakers, some representatives of Euro Foundation say that they submit policies, options, solutions before the Euro parties leader summits. You know, the Euro party leader summits are very important because these are the informal meeting where the leaders of different national parties meet together, and usually they are held before the European Council, okay? And less conventionally, some Euro foundations do not limit their activities to the European Union because in the regulation is written that the sphere of activities of Euro foundations is the European Union. But that's not true because a lot of Euro foundations work also outside the European Union. So this is illegal, we can say, but okay. It's acceptable, and it's a good thing. And in general, however, from an organizational point of view, the Euro Foundations work as networks. Even, for example, this initiative here has been organized by local organizers with the support of the European level foundation. And some speakers say that we work as umbrellas. We do not use the word network, but they prefer to use umbrellas. Some others say that Euro Foundation represent one of the 4 pillars of party activities at the European level. And the other 3 are the member organizations, so the national foundations, the EP party groups and the respective Euro parties, and also the international party families. So that's mean the Liberal International, Socialist International, World Social Forum, Christian International, and Christian Democrats International, and so on. So Euro Foundations claim to be the one of these 4 pillars. Okay, what is interesting? The differences between Euro Foundations. And the most visible differences is determined by the respective size of Euro Foundation. Money, but not solely money. And we will say, so first, the availability of resources. The biggest Euro Foundations have more resources, so they can do a lot of things. They can have more paid staff, and the staff is very important because it maintains a continuous link between the different national foundations and so on. That's why, for example, smaller foundations, and the ELF is not small, is smaller than the biggest, but it's not a smaller foundation. There are other 9 foundations that are really smaller. The smaller foundations prefer to take a decentralized approach. That means that sometimes they do not have offices in Brussels. So they are not in contact with the European institutions, but they are linked, they are based in national countries, okay? And obviously they function in a different way. They are less effective, for sure. And why, on the contrary, the more centralized prefer to use a top-down approaches. Think about the Popular Foundation and the Socialist Foundation. And these are 2 important critiques. There are 2 important differences that emerged during the discussion, and they were stressed by 2 professors who were part of this meeting. One point emerged by Professor Gagatek of the University of Warsaw, and he said that Euro foundations behave in a different way from the smaller one. The bigger behave in a different way from the smaller one because, not only because of the money, but because also they are represented in all the member states. The progressive, the Foundation for the Foundation for European Progressive Studies have national foundations that are members of this foundation in every country of the European Union, and this is the same for the Christian Democrat Foundation, and so on. While, on the contrary, the smallest foundations do not have contacts in all the country, okay? And this is problematic because they cannot perform their role as promoting political culture because they are not there. They are not physically there, okay? And another point was underlined by, this is very interesting and this is also provocating, if I can say. And this point was raised by Professor Van Ecke and Professor Bardi, and they say that Euro foundations are a necessary complement to the Euro parties. Why? Because they reduce the dependence of Euro parties from the national parties, okay? In the sense that Euro foundations can be used by Euro parties to be in direct contact with the people. Otherwise, Euro party, if they want to do something, they have to pass through national party. Can you imagine, okay, this is not the case. Can you imagine, for example, the EPP that wants to talk about a problem here in Slovenia and can do that without inviting the Democratic Party? No, cannot. He has to invite the Democratic Party. But, for example, using the European Foundation can invite it, put in a smaller role, the national party. This is very important. So through the Euro foundations, Euro parties can have a sort of direct contact with citizens, or at least without passing necessarily through the mediation of national parties. And some difficulties, some people say that we work very well, we performed our political function creating consciousness among the potential voters and so on, but Euro foundations are not able to reach people that are not interested in the European Union. Or, on the other side, Euro foundations are not able to reach people, because they should do that. Euro foundation, they are not able to reach people that belong to different political culture, okay? These were 2 or 3 points. This was a point that was underlined by 2 or 3 smaller foundations. And some proposed changes and solutions. These are coming from the representatives of Euro foundations. Actually, even the proposed change and solutions came from the representatives of smaller foundations, not from the Socialist and the People's Party one. And they say that there should be a different allocation of resources. Yes, obviously, because they receive few money in comparison with the biggest foundations. But obviously, the biggest foundation, maybe they do not agree on that. And on the other side, this was more interesting. Smaller foundations want to increase and to have a greater collaboration among themselves. So smaller Euro foundations, in performing their role as helping Euro parties and creating a political culture, a European culture at the national level, want to collaborate themselves. So you can, because, why? Because the discussion, even starting from a different point of view, is much more interesting than say, this is a story and that's all. Now, if you say, this is a story, this is another story, maybe we can discuss. People that are listening at the stories, the 2 different stories, can say, I agree on that, I don't agree with that. So they create a debate. I mean, if you say, we want to make the European citizens, as we are, more interested in the European Union, you have to give different options to the European citizens. Because awareness of being part of a state is also being awareness of being part of different political cultures, okay? And so on. So this was a very important suggestions that came from the smaller political foundation, Euro foundations. Future research, and are going to finish. So the OPPR now, we start just 2 weeks ago, is currently conducting a new research on Euro foundations, and this research is funded by the European Parliament, in particular the Constitutional Affairs Committee, the AFCO, and we want to underline what? These are the main three aims that we want to do. We want to underline the activities of Euro foundations in relation with national foundations. So we want to have clear data, okay? To say that these are the numbers of national activities that has been performed, national activities that have been performed at this Euro foundation in relation with this national foundation, and so on. And so we want to date empirical. We want to give to the scientific community, but also to the large opinion sphere. We want to give precise empirical data. And also empirical data on their activities with Euro parties, because do not forget that Euro Foundation were created to help Euro parties. This is written by law. I'm sorry for that. If I will know. And another, the third topic is this one, and this is, if we can say, difficult topic, because as I told you before, the Euro parties are the only one that have to conduct electoral campaigns during the European elections with the help of national parties, obviously. But we expect that in the next 8 months, the activities of Euro foundations will increase. And Euro foundation will help, even is against the rule, will help to the Euro parties or political family to be more prepared in view of the next European election. To be provocative, last year, the electoral campaign at the national level, I can say that because he won the election, so he's already happy. I can say that, also if I criticize him, of Mr. Hollande in France in 2012 was opened by an event organized by the Foundation of European Progressive Studies, so by the socialist foundations. But this should be forbidden. They organize a national meeting. They organize a European meeting obviously in a country, in that case in Paris, and they invited prominent party leaders. Obviously, they invited the national foundations and so on. But by chance, the party leader of the Socialist Party in France was Mr. Hollande, that within 2 months will become president of France. So the electoral campaign is forbidden by the rule. The electoral campaign in France for the presidential election was opened by an event organized by a Euro Foundation. Okay? To finish, this is the web page of our website. You can reach our website through this link, but just Google UDO PPR and you will find that. And this is the name of the co-founders. The co-founders were Luciano Bardi of the University of Pisa, who was also chair of the European Consortium for Political Research, and Peter Maher, who was Irish and passed away 2 years ago. These were the co-founders, and nowadays the co-directors are still Luciano Bardi and Hans-Peter Krisi, who is a very prominent Swiss political scientist. I'm the coordinator of that, Enrico Calossi. If you want to have more info and so on, to receive the PowerPoint, you can write me at UI, European University Institute.ui. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much to the interpreters and translators. I guess we can discuss later. Okay.